I saw the film a few days ago. I had a great time. I thought it was a great horror movie because it's very intelligent. I think that the fact that you guys explore technology makes it very real, very nowadays, because we're all like surrounded by cameras and there's no intimacy. But at the same time, you combine that with values from the 50s in a way. The husband who wants a wife that has all these qualities that are part of the past. Could you comment on those aspects of the film?
Yeah, no, that's a great question and observation. When we started developing this, originally we had talked about, the location is so central to the film. We had talked originally about like a cottage or kind of a cabin in the woods, kind of a location,
or countryside out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. But we were like, that's been done a lot. We've seen that movie, and we thought that something that kind of captures that futuristic, vibe, like you said, that kind of invasive, all-seeing eye type of a place, but also something that takes us back to some of those traditional values. That would be the pinnacle, right? And we found a place who the owner, showed us and was gracious enough to let us film there. We thought it captured both of those things very well, that futuristic vintage kind of a vibe. And
yeah, that's what we've been calling it, futuristic.
I think the location did a lot of that work for us in capturing both of those things. And
we feel like it gave us a new take on that kind of a film.
Yeah, a little bit of that sci-fi mixed with the thriller elements or the horror elements.
And there are many twists that we don't have to talk about it, but I was very surprised that the film took me somewhere else that I didn't suspect. So I think that's a good thing, being surprised by a horror movie or science fiction retro.
Great. We're very glad that it was able to hold your attention, that it held your attention, I guess.
It held. Yeah. So one thing, I think the fact that Henry and Emma have been together for 9 years give us more background on the couple, so it makes it more interesting to explore what they're going through. I don't think it would have worked if they were teenagers in this case.
Right. Yeah, no. We agree.
Everyone has a history and life experience, and sometimes the decisions you make or the things that happen to you, whatever it is, they lead you to be the person that you are. But that's not to say that you can't make steps to change or take control back of your own life, in situations. So it's neat to be able to see that there are things certainly that can be in our past that hold us back, or psychologically can damage us in ways that you think are irreparable. But then there are also ways that we can overcome things. So it's kind of neat to be able to see such a rich history or experience in both characters
without really telling the viewer what that history is.
Yeah.
Too. I actually kind of like that we
make hint at it, but
yeah, it's like clear that there's something here that's wrong, but we don't spell that out necessarily. I like how the performers Jill and Bart bring that to the table in their performance, and we kind of can see that something is wrong, but we don't have to draw a roadmap for the viewer,
Yeah.
I think, it's otherwise it would be like patronizing. Look here, this is bad, this is wrong.
Yeah.
I like the fact that there are no morals, no judgment. The guy just wants. I think Henry has this fear of failure at every level, and he would do whatever it takes to feel that he's within the concept of success that we accept in a patriarchal society, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of expectations, especially with that, as you said, the kind of 50s, sort of old Leave It to Beaver days of
a little bit of a Mad Men vibe.
Yeah, the Mad Men era. But definitely there are traditions and a sense of kind of control and empowerment from typically from the man's side of the relationship. So, but then there's also a lot of expectations, from that era on the women's side as well. And I think we just tried to show like how both of those sides react to those expectations as best we could, and what they mean today, because they're obviously a lot of things have changed. Things are different now in a lot of aspects, but then there are some things that are kind of the same. So in a roundabout way, I'm trying to answer that question without getting too in depth.
And the story, I like the dynamic of how they change at the beginning. I think Emma is in control of the situation. She's the powerful woman, but then all evolves. Then she becomes the object of, if you want, suffering. And can you talk about the dynamic, how they change? Henry becomes the powerful person within the story of the.
Well, it's interesting because the ride we wanted to take people on, and hopefully we've accomplished this, is that you don't necessarily, you feel for both characters.
You can empathize with both.
You can feel for them and understand where they're coming from, but then also you kind of can be a little bit let down by both of them, thereby leading you to not know who you are rooting for both, but then not sure you want to root at all, kind of throughout the film. So
which I think is kind of at the heart of like most disagreements, like if you truly hear both sides of most disagreements, equally, I feel like it's very rarely black and white. It's very much in the gray area on a lot of things, like anything across the spectrum, like political relationships, court battles or whatever. Like if you kind of heard both sides in a very fair way, there's a lot of gray area there. So we tried to capture that in the movie between Henry and Emma, where we don't, as Travis said, we don't exactly know who's good or who's bad, or if those terms even apply.
Or if they're both going to be able to unite, even with the hardships that they've both had as a couple against this voice that's doing this to them. It's interesting to see if the voice can really help them improve their marriage, as it claims to want to do, and how they grow together in the film. It's interesting to see some of those tactics actually as they work.
We're asking a general question about the pandemic. Do you think movie theaters will be back the way we knew them in the past, prior to pre-pandemic, or how do you see the future of films?
It's a great question.
Entertainment.
I don't know that movie theaters will rebound the same as in the past. If they do, it'll be different. Just the accessibility is so different these days. We're not sure.
I do think COVID has changed some things forever. I think that some experiences will never quite be the same. I don't think theaters are going away, but I think the types of movies we're going to see and how long we're going to see them, and
the price points,
and just the window of theatrical. I think it's all going to be different based on COVID. Because when you have a movie like Wonder Woman and now Black Widow, like hitting streaming the same day as theaters, I mean, that's a game changer.
That's different. Yeah, that's definitely different.
I think that the pandemic had a positive aspect, which is weird, but I think that it was positive for independent filmmakers, because the way we see films is more democratic now, and you don't need to have a $40,000 budget on marketing and publicity to get people to watch a movie, because we're all stuck at home and we watch entertainment and we like it. So I think it's been good for independent filmmakers in a way.
Yes, independent creators like ourselves have a much better opportunity to get our work out there without having to compete so much with a company that spends $40 million to $100 million just advertising a film. So it has been really great for us. We plan on continuing to make movies for theatrical experiences, regardless of where they end up. And we plan on making movies that can compete creatively with these big studios. We want to make movies that everyone enjoys and loves, and commercial movies. We love those kinds of movies. We love Spielberg movies. We love all the great movies that people go out and enjoy. We want to make movies like that. We have an excellent track record, I would say. We hope to keep that alive. We plan on it. And we just want to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And as we do, and as more talent sees our work and how serious we take it and how committed we are to doing good work, I think they'll jump on board and be willing to work more with indie filmmakers, not so much for a big payday, but for the love of the art and for being able to do things that they wouldn't normally get to do, just by simply trying to fit into the machine of the studio world. They can do some really neat artistic things with indie filmmakers. So I think you're going to see more collaborations between actors and indie filmmakers. I really think so. I hope so. I wanted to like start this kind of initiative, the A-list indies, where we have an A-lister that commits himself to working for very cheap on an independent film. I think that could go a long way in the filmmaking community and could be really neat.
That's really cool. One thing I learned at the last, I will never rent an isolated house, super modern, huge house to celebrate anything.
Always make sure there's at least one neighbor,
one neighbor nearby. Yeah, not so remote that you could end up there for years and years with no one discovering.
No, I just want to live like in an apartment.
Yeah, there you go.